square root of the number is the value we can multiply by itself to give us that number. Not all numbers are going to have a perfect square. We can see here if we try to take the square root of 8 and we try to arrange 8 cubes into a perfect square, we're going to come out with a whole. That tells us the square root of 8 isn't going to be a whole number. Instead, we're going to have to do some estimating. So let's come back to our number line. We can see that the square root of 8 is going to fall between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. So that tells us in our estimate the square root of 8 is going to be 2 point something. Well, let's work on figuring out that something. First, we want to draw the larger of the perfect squares. Our larger perfect square is a square root of 9 or 3, so we're going to draw a 3 by 3 square. Next, we're going to shade the smaller perfect square. Our smaller perfect square is the square root of 4 or 2, so we're going to shade a 2 by 2 square. Now we're going to shade the extra boxes that we need. We need to find the square root of 8. Well, so far we've shaded the square root of 4, so 5, 6, 7, 8. We can use that data to make a fraction. We've shaded 4 extra squares, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra squares total. So we're going to change that fraction into a decimal. So to do that, we're going to divide numerator by denominator. When we do that, 5 is going to go into 40 exactly 8 times with none left over. So my estimated square root of 8 we knew was going to be 2 point something, and that something is 8/10. Not all decimals are going to come out to be exact, so if they don't, we're going to have to do some estimating. So on our number line, we can see that the square root of 28 is going to fall between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. That tells us our square root of 28 is going to be about 5 point something. So to estimate that, we're going to start by drawing our larger perfect square. So square root of 36 is 6, so a 6 by 6 square. Shade the smaller perfect square. So square root of 25, so we're going to shade a 5 by 5 square in there. Now we need to make our fraction. We need to shade our extra boxes needed. Well, we have 25 shaded and we need 28, so that means we're going to shade 3 more out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more. Now we're going to take our fraction and change it into a decimal. So to do that, we're going to divide 3 by 11. 11 is going to go into 30 twice, minus 22. That's going to leave me with 8, bring down my 0. 11 is going to go into 80 7 times, minus 77. That leaves us with 3, so this decimal isn't going to end, but now we have enough data to go ahead and round to the nearest tenth. That 7 is going to tell the 2 to bump up to a 3, so we're going to round that off to 3/10. So when we put that together, we knew it was going to be 5 point something, and that something is going to be 3/10. So the square root of 28 is going to be about 5 3/10. We can also estimate square roots using subtraction instead of drawing a picture. If we want to estimate the square root of 41, again, we can see it's going to fall between 2 perfect squares. It's going to fall between the square root of 36 and the square root of 49, so we know that's going to be 6 point something. Instead, though, we're going to use subtraction to find our fraction. First, we need to know how many extra shaded squares we would have. Well, we would need 41, and we know that there would have been 36 already shaded. So that means we're going to have to do 41 minus 36 to tell us that we would have shaded 5 more squares. Now we need to find our total extra squares. Well, we know that we would have drawn the larger one, and we would have shaded in the smaller one. So 49 minus 36 tells me that there would have been 13 extra squares. So now we have our fraction, so we can divide to change that into a decimal. So 5 divided by 13. When I do 13 into 50, that's going to go 3 times, minus 39, that's going to leave me with 11. Bring down an extra 0, 13 is going to go into 110 8 times, subtract 104, and that's going to leave me with 6. So this decimal isn't ending, but we have enough information to go ahead and round off to the nearest 10. That 8 is going to tell the 3 to bump up to 4/10. So when I put those pieces together, our square root of 41 is going to be about 6 4/10. Check out the other videos in our playlist and don't forget to click on subscribe. Thanks for watching!